There is a moment you almost never notice. Someone questions you, they accuse you, they hint that you're selfish, arrogant, fake, untrustworthy. You feel a hot flash in your chest, a tightening in your throat, a heaviness behind your eyes. And in that microscopic gap between hearing the words and opening your mouth, you make a decision that shapes almost every relationship you have. You start to defend yourself. I didn't mean it like that. You're misunderstanding me. I would never do that. It feels honest. It feels fair. It feels morally right. Schopenhauer would call it a quiet surrender. Because the second you defend yourself, you accept a role you should never accept. You become the one on trial. They become the judge. The room becomes a courtroom. Your life becomes evidence. You didn't lose when they accused you. You lost when you agreed to answer. Part 1. The Invisible Courtroom and the Game of Frames. Schopenhauer spent his life watching human beings tear each other apart with words. He wrote an entire manual on how people argue, not to find truth, but to be right, to win, to dominate, to satisfy an inner hunger he called the will. He understood something brutal. Most people do not accuse you to understand you. They accuse you to assert themselves. They don't want clarity. They want victory. And defending yourself gives them everything they came for. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you defended your character, your motives, your heart, and walked away feeling more powerful? You might have felt relieved for a few minutes. You might have gotten their temporary approval, but stronger. Or did you walk away hollow, over-explained, strangely smaller in your own eyes? Schopenhauer's answer is cold and simple. You lost because you fought on the wrong battlefield, not the battlefield of facts, the battlefield of frame. The instant you say, "Let me explain," you accept their framing. They have the authority to question you. Your worth is something to be argued about. Their perception is the stage. Your job is to perform. You think you're defending your truth. What you're actually defending is your dependence on their opinion. He would tell you, this is not strength, it is attachment, and attachment is leverage, for them, not you. His whole philosophy starts with an uncomfortable claim. What you call world is not one clean reality. It's a collection of representations, internal pictures shaped by your will, your drives, your fears. The world is my representation. Nobody sees you as you are. They see you as they are, through their hunger, their envy, their insecurity. So when someone says, you're selfish, or you're fake, or you've changed, they're not revealing an objective fact about you. They're revealing their picture of you. More precisely, they're revealing their need. Sometimes the need is simple. They want you back in your old role. Sometimes it's darker. They want to lower you because your growth irritates the part of them that never move. Either way, Schopenhauer's trick is this. Do not step into someone else's picture of you and start rearranging the furniture. When you defend yourself, you accept the picture. You say, yes, this is me. Let me adjust the lighting. When you refuse to defend, you say something entirely different. I don't live in that picture. Part 2. The roles you keep accepting and must refuse. In every accusation, there are 3 roles available. The prosecutor, the judge, the accused. Most people, without thinking, jump straight into the third position. They grab the chains and put them on themselves. Schopenhauer's move is to decline the role altogether. He does not try to replace the prosecutor. He does not beg the judge. He quietly walks out of the courtroom. That is what never defend yourself really means. Not that you never speak, not that you never clarify anything. It means you never agree that your identity is up for public debate. Your behavior, that can change. Your choices, you can own or adjust them. But who you are is not a group project. The moment you start arguing your character, you've agreed it might be negotiable. So how does this look in real life? Imagine a dinner. Several people, wine on the table, low conversation. You make a comment, honest, direct. One person bristles and says, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You're always so harsh. You never think about how your words land." Silence. All eyes on you. Inside, your nervous system goes white hot. You feel misunderstood, misrepresented. You want to say, "I wasn't being harsh. I was just being honest." You always say, "I'm harsh," when you don't like what you hear. That's the ordinary script. You climb into the witness box, heart in your hands, and plead for a kinder sentence. Now watch the Schopenhauer script. Same accusation, same eyes. You feel the burn in your chest. But instead of pouring it out your mouth, you let it rise and fall, like a wave hitting a rock that doesn't move. You turn your head, look at the person, and you simply say, "That's how it lands for you." 8 words, no defense, no attack, just a quiet mirror. This is your experience, not my identity. What happens? You've refused to be the one on trial. You've returned ownership of their reaction to them. Now they're exposed. Sometimes they double down, get louder, and everyone sees their rawness. Sometimes they backtrack. I'm just saying, it feels like that. Either way, you didn't bleed for it. You did not try to tidy their feelings. You did not abase yourself for their comfort. That absence of defense is the flip. You remained yourself. Part 3, why explaining feels so urgent. Why do you even want to defend yourself? Under Schopenhauer's lens, it's not about justice. It's about the will to be loved. You don't simply want to be left alone. You want your inner narrative. I am good, I am fair, I am trying, reflected back to you accurately by others. So when someone throws a dark label at you, it doesn't just threaten your image, it threatens your whole internal story. Defending yourself is often nothing more than begging, "Please don't tear up the picture of myself I need to believe in." He would tell you, as long as your self-respect depends on that picture being held up by everyone around you, you are weak. It doesn't matter how articulate you sound, you are begging. Strength, as he saw it, was almost monastic, to be able to live with being misread, to let people carry their illusions without running after them with scissors and glue, to accept that your inner truth will not be universally recognized, and to remain calm anyway. That doesn't mean you enjoy injustice. It means you stop donating your power to it. Here's the danger. Some people here never defend yourself and use it as an excuse for cowardice. They say nothing when they should speak. They swallow what needs to be set straight. They call it philosophy. It's just fear in a clever coat. Schopenhauer's move is not passive. It has teeth. There are 3 layers to it. 1. Inner non-defense. You stop believing that every misperception is an emergency. You learn to feel the sting without scrambling to anesthetize it with words. 2. Outer stillness. You train your body to stop flinching. No sudden justifications, no nervous laugh, no rapid blinking and rushed explanations. You let silence do some of the work. 3. Active inversion. When you do speak, you don't defend. You redirect focus back to where it belongs, the other person's projection, the incompleteness of their information, or the limits of their entitlement. Examples. You're selfish. You don't care about anyone but yourself. That's a big conclusion to draw. You're fake. You only act nice when it suits you. That's what you've chosen to see. You think you're better than everyone. Interesting, that's where your mind goes. Each of these lines does the same thing. It quietly indicts their perception without volunteering you for cross-examination. You say very little, yet suddenly they are the one who seems overreaching. Part 4. How to flip it in meetings, relationships, and online. Let's walk through a more detailed scene. You're in a team meeting. You propose a strategy. Someone across the table, who's been silently resenting your competence for months, says with a half laugh, "Here we go again." Another one of your big untested ideas. Do you ever think things through? All heads swivel. What does the average person do? They lean in. They start defending the idea. Its logic, their preparation, their track record. In doing so, they implicitly concede that the attack was legitimate. The room now watches their defense instead of the original pettiness. Schopenhauer's move. You take a slow breath through your nose. You lean back, not forward. You let their words hang in the air and rot a little. Then calmly, "What risk are you seeing that I'm not?" Now something subtle happens. They were playing to the crowd. You just turned it into an exam. For them, if they have a real concern, they must articulate it precisely, which moves the conversation to content, where you can engage without self-defense. If they don't have a real concern, if it was just a jab, their answer will reveal that. They will sound vague, emotional, petty. Either way, you did not justify yourself. You made their judgment do the work. That is Schopenhauer's trick. Flip every attack into a request for their clarity, not your innocence. Now what about love? What about the people who should understand you? This is where it hurts the most. Your partner says, you never listen. Your parent says, you've become so cold. Your friend says, fame changed you. Everything in you wants to grab their words and twist them back into something truer. You want to defend your heart. Schopenhauer would tell you that impulse is precisely where you weaken your bond. Because the moment you start arguing your character, you've abandoned the deeper conversation, the one about needs, limits, and reality, and stepped into the theater of image. Your partner doesn't feel unheard because your essence is flawed. They feel unheard because of specific moments, specific behaviors, but instead of naming those, they put you on a dramatic moral stage. If you defend yourself on that stage, you confirm the frame. This is about whether I'm a good or bad person. The stronger move is colder, but cleaner. You refuse to defend your essence. You stay open to feedback about your actions. You never listen. Tell me one time this week you felt I checked out. You're not saying, no, I do listen, here's why I'm good. You're dragging the conversation from vague condemnation into concrete reality, where something can change if they cannot go concrete, if they stay at the level of always, never, you are this kind of person. It tells you something very clear. They are more invested in the story where you are defective than in the reality where both of you are human. And Schopenhauer would say, do not waste your energy defending against stories people need to believe for their own reasons. Now the online battlefield. A stranger comments, you're toxic and dangerous. Stop pretending you're helping anyone. Your vision tunnels. You want to type a manifesto. You want to show your receipts, your intentions, your private messages. You want to gather allies to prove them wrong. Schopenhauer would see one thing in that comment. A will thrashing for attention using moral language as bait. You have two strong options. Silence, or a line that makes their will visible. Silence, if you can stomach it, does something very simple. It denies them the feast they came for. Your reaction, they'll flail, post again, perhaps grow more hysterical. The more they move, the more unbalanced they look to anyone watching. If you must reply something like, you're very invested in this. You did not defend, you diagnose. Or, people often see in others what they can't face in themselves. Again, no denial, no self-justification, just a mirror turned around. The point is not to win the internet. The point is never to join someone else's drama as a voluntary extra. Part 5, won't silence make me look guilty? And the difference between strength and immunity. You might be thinking, if I never defend myself, won't people think I'm guilty? Won't my silence look like admission? Sometimes, yes. To the shallow, to the reactive, to those who live and die by public opinion, silence always looks suspicious. Schopenhauer's answer is ruthless. Those are not the people you build your life around. The respect that matters does not come from proving your innocence to everyone who misreads you. It comes from the slowly growing sense in the people who matter that you are not easily moved by gossip, accusation, or panic. They watch you over time. They see that you do not rush to clap back, to clear things up publicly, to narrate your every wound. They see that you correct your course in private, repair where necessary, and otherwise remain eerily unbothered. And in a world addicted to outrage, that composure becomes its own form of gravity. People might not always like you, but they begin to treat you with a caution they don't extend to others. Why? Because they don't know what you'll do. And in Schopenhauer's world, that uncertainty is power. Here we need to distinguish something important. There is a difference between strength and immunity. Strength still flinches. It gets triggered. It feels attacked. It burns energy crafting replies, even if those replies are sharp. Immunity is quieter. Immunity hears the accusation, feels the old reflex rise, and then nothing. No visible ripple, no frantic motion. It is not that you don't feel. It's that you no longer translate every feeling into speech. You don't rush to say, here is why you're wrong about me. You let time and behavior do that work. or you let it remain undone. Schopenhauer, who lived most of his life misunderstood, would tell you, the more a man is capable of being himself, the less he will care about what others think of him. Never defending yourself is not a performance of coldness. It is the practical result of a deeper shift. You have moved your center of judgment from them to you. You still judge yourself. In fact, you become harsher, more precise, less forgiving of your own cowardice and self-betrayal. But you no longer outsource that function to whoever speaks the loudest. From that place, your silence is no longer cowardice, it is verdict. Part 6. 3 experiments to rewire the reflex. How do you begin to live this way? Not by making grand declarations, but by running small experiments. Experiment 1. The cheap shot. Once this week, when someone makes a cheap shot clearly designed to provoke you, do nothing. Not the dramatic, I'm above this speech. Actual nothing. Feel the itch in your tongue. Let it itch. Let the silence fall for a breath longer than comfort. Watch what happens. They repeat themselves. They get louder. They laugh awkwardly and say, I was just joking. Someone else at the table shifts in their seat, feeling the imbalance. They start to carry the weight of their own words. That is one stone in the fortress. Experiment 2, the sweeping label. When someone labels your character with a sweeping sentence, you're always X, you never Y. Do not defend the label. You either ask for specifics, give me one example, or you decline the premise. I don't agree with that description, said calmly. Then stop. No second paragraph. Let the discomfort hang in the air like smoke. Don't wave it away with compensation. Experiment 3, the online hook. Pick one comment that normally would send you into a spiral. Write your long defense in a notes app. Get it all out, then delete it. You don't owe every stranger a courtroom drama. You owe yourself peace. Every time you refuse to defend, you teach your nervous system a new lesson. I can survive being misread. And once you know you can survive it, it stops owning you. Part 7. Schopenhauer's stance from defense to definition. Schopenhauer did not care about being seen as good. He cared about seeing clearly, and what he saw was a world full of people projecting their unresolved will onto everyone around them, then demanding apologies, explanations, and defenses to feel better. His trick is not a line you memorize. It's a stance. If your accusation is projection, my defense is fuel. I will give you neither. Say what you like. Interpret as you must. The judgment that shapes my life is mine, not yours. From there, you stop living in defense. You start living in definition. You define your pace. You define your responses. You even define your silences, not as fear, but as chosen boundaries. And slowly, people adjust. Some get louder at first, desperate to find the old you who would flinch and explain. When they can't, they go hunting for softer targets. Others, the ones with some depth in them, will feel something else, a strange mixture of respect and unease, because a man who does not rush to defend himself is harder to manage, harder to manipulate, harder to own. He is, in the truest Schopenhauerian sense, finally beginning to belong to himself.